On February 1st, 2026, Nancy Guthrie, the 84-year-old mother of Today Show co-anchor Savannah Guthrie, vanished from her Tucson home. Law enforcement has been forced to publicly deny explosive claims that her brother-in-law could be a prime suspect in what investigators believe was a targeted abduction involving disabled Ring and Nest security cameras. This set off a chain of events that thrust a private family tragedy into the harsh glare of national media attention. What makes this case particularly compelling isn't just the high-profile nature of her daughter's career, alongside Today Show colleagues Hoda Kotb and Craig Melvin, but the web of contradictory statements, investigative challenges, and public disputes between journalists and the Pima County Sheriff's Department that have emerged since her disappearance. Nancy Guthrie's life story shows remarkable resilience. Born Nancy Ellen Long on January 27, 1942 in Fort Wright, Kentucky. She graduated from the University of Kentucky before marrying Charles Errol Guthrie on December 28, 1963. Charles was a mining engineer whose career took the family around the world, including a stint in Melbourne, Australia, where their daughter Savannah was born on December 27, 1971. The Guthries eventually settled in Tucson around 1973, moving into a burnt-at-the-bee home in the Catalina Foothills. Their comfortable life was shattered on June 10, 1988, when Charles died suddenly of a heart attack at age 49, leaving Nancy to raise their 3 children alone. She was 46 years old, with Savannah just 16 and about to start her senior year of high school. Nancy, who had been a stay-at-home mother, returned to work as a clerk at the University of Arizona to support her family. Her children went on to remarkable achievements. Cameron became a retired F-16 Fighting Falcon pilot, Annie a published poet and writer, and Savannah the co-anchor of NBC's Today Show. Despite facing what Savannah called unthinkable challenges, Nancy met them with grit, without self-pity, with determination, and always with unshakable faith. At 84, Nancy remained sharp and independent, according to Pima County Sheriff Chris Danos, who emphasized this repeatedly.
Miss Guthrie, Nancy Guthrie, is of great sound mind. This is not a dementia-related. She is as sharp as a tack.
However, she had limited mobility and couldn't walk 50 yards, which proved crucial to investigators' understanding of what happened to her. Despite her age, Nancy was not enrolled in Arizona's Silver Alert system, which tracks missing vulnerable adults. The timeline of Nancy's disappearance is precise and chilling. On Saturday evening, January 31st, 2026, at 5:32 p.m., Nancy took an Uber about 4.5 miles from her home to have dinner with her daughter Annie and son-in-law Tommaso Cioni. The evening appeared normal by all accounts. At 9:48 p.m., someone from the family dropped her back at her home. Her garage door opened at approximately 9:48 p.m. and closed at 9:50 p.m. As Sheriff Nanos explained, it is that time we assume that Nancy's home and probably going to bed. What happened next remains a mystery wrapped in digital clues and medical device data. At 1:47 a.m. on Sunday, February 1st, Nancy's Ring doorbell camera was disconnected. 25 minutes later at 2:12 a.m., Nest camera software in the home detected a person on camera, but crucially, no video was available because the camera owner didn't have a subscription that allowed the software to save footage. At 2:28 a.m., Nancy's Medtronic pacemaker monitoring app data showed it had disconnected from her phone, a critical piece of evidence that raised immediate medical concerns given HIPAA privacy protocols around cardiac device monitoring. The next morning, around 11 a.m., someone who attended church with Nancy called the family to report that the 84-year-old had never made it to services. This was apparently unusual enough to raise immediate concern. At 11:56 a.m., relatives responded to Nancy's home and discovered she was missing. 7 minutes later, at 12:03 p.m., the family called 911. By February 2nd, Sheriff Nanos had declared Nancy's home a crime scene. Blood found on the porch outside tested positive for her DNA. The investigation revealed that multiple Ring and Nest security cameras in the house had been smashed, suggesting someone familiar with their locations had deliberately disabled the Arlo and Ring surveillance system. The case took a dramatic turn on February 3rd, when TMZ received what appeared to be a ransom note demanding millions in Bitcoin. The note contained specific details about Nancy's disappearance, including reference to an Apple Watch and a floodlight, along with a deadline for payment. This development seemed to confirm investigators' worst fears that Nancy had been kidnapped, prompting federal agencies, including the U.S. Marshal Service, to join the investigation alongside Arizona DPS. But it was also on February 3rd that the case exploded into public controversy. Ashley Banfield, the Canadian-American journalist and host of the Drop Dead Serious podcast, made an explosive claim on her show. She stated that her law enforcement sources had identified Tommaso Cioni, Nancy's son-in-law, married to Annie Guthrie, as a prime suspect in the case. Banfield's reporting was specific and damning. She claimed,
again, law enforcement source tells me that Nancy Guthrie's son-in-law, married to Annie Guthrie, Savannah's sister, is maybe a prime suspect in this case.
She pointed to what she said were smashed Nest cameras throughout Nancy's home, suggesting the perpetrator knew where they were in the house. Most significantly, she noted the conflicting reports about who had actually dropped Nancy off that final evening. The confusion over the seemingly basic fact highlights one of the many mysteries in this case. Initial reports suggested it could have been Annie who dropped her mother off, while other versions indicated it was both Annie and Tommaso together. However, the New York Times later quoted Sheriff Nanos as saying definitively that Miss Guthrie's son-in-law, Tommaso Cioni, dropped her off and ensured she made it inside safely before leaving. Banfield defended her reporting by referencing previous high-profile cases where law enforcement publicly denied having suspects while privately pursuing leads. She specifically cited the University of Idaho murders, noting that police identified suspect Brian Kohberger through DNA evidence on December 19, 2022, but the next day, the police chief said no suspects have been identified. She also referenced her coverage of the Gabby Petito case, where law enforcement initially downplayed Brian Laundrie as a person of interest despite mounting evidence. I have been there before when the police quietly among themselves identify someone but publicly tell us, "Nothing to see here," Banfield explained, defending what many saw as inflammatory speculation. Her approach mirrors tactics used in other high-profile missing persons cases covered by true crime podcasters and journalists. The response from the Pima County Sheriff's Department was swift and unequivocal. On February 4th, Sheriff Nanos held a press conference to directly address Banfield's claims.
At this time, we have not identified a suspect or a person of interest in this case.
He stated firmly, calling Banfield's report reckless. The Pima County Sheriff's Department issued an official statement saying, "At this point, investigators have not identified a suspect or person of interest in this case. While we appreciate the public's concern, the sharing of unverified accusations or false information is irresponsible and does not assist the investigation." However, Nanos also acknowledged that nobody's eliminated, leaving room for interpretation that investigators were still examining all possibilities, including family members. The National Center was reportedly consulted to trace any potential Bitcoin ransom payments. The case received attention at the highest levels of government. President Donald Trump personally reached out to Savannah Guthrie, later stating, "I spoke with Savannah Guthrie and let her know that I am directing all federal law enforcement to be at the family's and local law enforcement's complete disposal immediately. We are deploying all resources to get her mother home safely. The prayers of our nation are with her and her family. God bless and protect Nancy." On February 5th, the FBI made an arrest that seemed to resolve at least one aspect of the case. Derek Kallela, a California man was charged with sending fake ransom notes in an effort to extort Savannah Guthrie and her siblings. FBI agent Janke was clear about this development. "We believe there is no evidence to connect this to Nancy's case. It was someone that was trying to profit from it. A total imposter." Khalila's background revealed a pattern of fraudulent behavior. In October 2025, the Los Angeles County District Attorney's Office had named him as one of 13 county employees accused of stealing a total of $430,000 in unemployment benefits. He was specifically charged with one felony count of grand theft for being involved in the theft of $437,383 in state unemployment benefits between 2020 and 2023. The revelation that at least some of the ransom communications were fake added another layer of confusion to the investigation. Sheriff Nanos had previously described receiving a note that came in that had facts associated with it, with a deadline, a monetary value they were asking for. The fact that this turned out to be from an opportunistic scammer rather than Nancy's actual captors meant investigators were back to square one in terms of communication with whoever might be holding her. Throughout this ordeal, Nancy's children have maintained a united front, making public appeals for their mother's safe return. Savannah missed her broadcasts of the Today Show alongside co-anchors Hoda Kotb and Craig Melvin, and pulled out of covering the 2026 Winter Olympics to focus on the search. In a family video appeal, she said, "Your children will not rest until we are together again." Her brother Cameron, the former F-16 Fighting Falcon pilot, released his own video message.
"Whoever is out there holding our mother, we want to hear from you. We haven't heard anything directly. We need you to reach out, and we need a way to communicate with you so we can move forward."
The case presents numerous challenges for investigators. They're dealing with difficult terrain around Tucson, sparse physical evidence, no clear person of interest despite intense speculation, and the complicating factor of fake ransom notes. Most critically, Nancy requires prescription medication that could prove fatal if not taken within 24 hours of her disappearance, making time a crucial factor. Her Medtronic pacemaker monitoring also raised concerns about potential medical complications. Sheriff Chris Nanos, who has half a century of experience in law enforcement, having begun his career with the El Paso Police Department in 1976, has maintained that investigators believe Nancy is still alive.
We believe Nancy is still out there. We want her home.
He stated at a recent press conference. The investigation has also revealed some intriguing personal connections. Nancy is the aunt to the wife of Jimmy Eat World drummer Zach Lind, who wrote on social media, "My wife's aunt from the Tucson area is missing. Please come forward if you have any information." As this case continues to unfold, it highlights the complex intersection of high-profile media attention, family tragedy, and law enforcement procedure. The public dispute between journalist Ashley Banfield and the Pima County Sheriff's Department over potential suspects demonstrates how speculation can complicate active investigations, particularly when family members become subjects of public scrutiny. The Guthrie family's ordeal serves as a reminder that behind every missing person case is a family in crisis, regardless of their public profile. Nancy Guthrie, who overcame the sudden loss of her husband nearly 4 decades ago to raise 3 successful children, now finds herself at the center of a mystery that has captured national attention. Whether the intense media focus will help or hinder the investigation remains to be seen, but one thing certain: her children will not rest until they have answers about what happened to their mother on that February morning in Tucson. The case remains active, with federal and local authorities continuing their search, while Nancy's family waits for word about the woman Savannah Guthrie described as meeting life's challenges with grit, without self-pity, with determination, and always with unshakable faith.